Maurice Scott has found himself at the center of a storm of drama and emotions after his affair was exposed, and now, it seems he's willing to do anything to win back his wife, Kimmi. But the question on everyone's mind is whether he's genuinely remorseful or just scrambling to save his reputation. Let's take a step back and break it all down, starting with the dynamic of their relationship and the chain of events that led us here. Maurice and Kimmi Scott were once seen as the epitome of a strong, mature couple. On the surface, they were the calm and composed pair on Love and Marriage Huntsville, a couple that seemed to have it all figured out. While the other couples around them were constantly involved in drama and conflict, Maurice and Kimmi maintained a different energy. Kimmi, the strong and composed partner, was the one who appeared to be in charge, balancing both her family and professional life. Maurice, on the other hand, painted himself as the dedicated husband, career-driven, and focused on providing for his family. But as time went on, the cracks started to show, and what seemed like the perfect marriage began to unravel. Viewers noticed that Kimmi was often the one holding everything together. She was the one taking care of their home, supporting Maurice's career, and even helping him co-parent his children from previous relationships. Meanwhile, Maurice seemed to be living in his own world, focused on his career, his real estate ventures, and his work with his son. His attention rarely seemed to be on Kimmi's emotional needs, and when she did express her feelings, it often felt like he wasn't really listening. It wasn't just a simple communication issue, it was something deeper. Kimmi had been battling breast cancer, and the support she needed during this challenging time seemed to be missing. While she bravely shared her diagnosis with the world, many fans noticed that Maurice wasn't as supportive as they had hoped. When Kimmi was going through surgery, chemotherapy, and the emotional roller coaster that comes with such a difficult diagnosis, Maurice wasn't there in the way one might expect. He didn't always offer the emotional support she needed. Instead, he was often distant, trying to fix things with logic when she needed comfort. His emotional absence became a huge point of contention between them, creating a silent divide that neither of them could ignore. Kimmi, despite her battle with cancer, still showed up for everyone around her. She helped Maurice, she supported his ventures, and she continued to put in the work. But behind closed doors, she felt increasingly isolated. Fans began to notice that Kimmi wasn't wearing her wedding ring anymore, and social media posts that once included affectionate pictures of them together stopped. There was no more birthday shoutouts, no more anniversary celebrations, and, most telling of all, no posts about Kimmi's recovery. It became clear that the once strong couple was drifting apart. Kimmi had always been the one to step up and support Maurice. But now, in her time of need, Maurice's silence spoke volumes. He wasn't there for her in the way she had been there for him. Fans began to question if Kimmi was going through this difficult journey all alone. It wasn't just her cancer battle that was at stake, it was her marriage, her emotional well-being, and her sense of connection with the one person who was supposed to have her back. But as the emotional distance grew, Maurice didn't seem to realize what was slipping away until it was almost too late. Things started to escalate when Kimmi stopped responding to Maurice in the way she once did. The once thriving emotional connection between them began to fade. Maurice tried to reach out, but it was more desperate than loving. Late-night phone calls, long voicemails, random texts begging her to just talk to him. He started to panic, realizing that the emotional safety net Kimmi had provided for him was gone. He didn't understand how deep his emotional neglect had cut until she quietly stepped back, no longer checking in or supporting him the way she used to. It wasn't just that Kimmi was withdrawing, it was that she had already been through so much. And Maurice, it seemed, was only now recognizing the true weight of her emotional labor. As he started reaching out to friends and family, begging them to convince Kimmi to talk to him, it became apparent that he was trying to fix something that might have already been broken beyond repair. Kimmi, who had been the strong one for so long, had finally reached her breaking point. Then came the leaked voicemail. Maurice's voice, raw and shaky, hit a gossip blog late one night, and fans were shocked. In the voicemail, Maurice was clearly emotional, pleading with Kimmi, saying things like, "I know I didn't show up the way you needed, but I never stopped loving you." It was an uncharacteristically vulnerable moment, one that had fans divided. Some felt sympathy for him, thinking it took a lot of courage to admit that he had failed her emotionally. Others, however, saw it as nothing more than damage control, pointing out how silent he had been during her battle with cancer. As if that wasn't enough, Maurice went live on Instagram one night, looking shaken and vulnerable. He claimed that he wasn't doing it for the cameras but because he had realized something important. Watching Kimmi walk away made him realize how much she had been carrying emotionally for both of them. In his live video, he admitted, "I didn't deserve her grace, and I sure didn't earn her silence." Then, to everyone's surprise, he pulled out a handwritten letter he claimed to have written the night Kimmi left. He read a few lines that touched many of his viewers, including one that read, "I thought being strong meant holding it together, but maybe real strength is saying I was wrong before you leave." But the most shocking moment came when Maurice revealed a new ring. He wasn't proposing again, but instead offering it as a symbol of starting over, without the weight of old patterns. He even offered to quit love and marriage Huntsville if it meant peace in their marriage, saying, "I'd trade visibility for peace with her in a second." But despite his emotional display, Kimmi remained silent. She didn't respond publicly, and she certainly didn't indulge the emotional wave Maurice was trying to ride online. Instead, Kimmi shared a quiet Instagram story a few days later. The photo was simple, a cup of tea, with the words "peace feels different when you earn it" written across the image. It was subtle, but it sent a message. It seemed to imply that Maurice's public plea, his outpouring of emotions, wasn't enough. He might have wanted peace, but it was clear he hadn't earned it. Then, fans saw something that gave them hope: a sighting of Kimmi and Maurice having lunch together at a low-key spot in Huntsville. People started wondering if a reconciliation was on the horizon. But just when it seemed like they might be working things out, another bombshell dropped. A woman named Shayla came forward with receipts. Shayla, an alleged mistress, claimed that Maurice had been unfaithful throughout the turmoil in his marriage. She had screenshots, texts, and voice notes that painted a very different picture of Maurice than the one he had been presenting to the public. In the texts, Maurice was seen complaining about the difficulties at home with Kimmi, expressing his emotional struggles, and even telling Shayla that he was stuck between the woman he loved and a life he wasn't ready to leave behind. There was one voice note, a 3-minute clip, where Maurice is heard laughing and whispering into the phone, talking about an escape he took with Shayla. This all lined up with the public apologies Maurice had made to Kimmi, raising questions about his true intentions. While he was professing his love for Kimmi on social media, it seemed he was still carrying on a full-blown affair behind the scenes. Shayla's allegations were shocking, but they didn't come without weight. She wasn't just any random woman making claims. She had a history of being outspoken, and she had been linked to other high-profile situations. She posted social media stories showing moments with Maurice at times that contradicted his statements about focusing on his marriage. And while Maurice denied the allegations, calling them false and baseless, the evidence was hard to ignore. Maurice's team issued a statement calling Shayla bitter and attention-seeking, but the timing of her claims made it hard for fans to dismiss her outright. Meanwhile, Kimmi's silence spoke volumes. She hasn't stepped up to defend Maurice, and insiders close to her have hinted that she may have emotionally checked out from the marriage altogether. There are even whispers that she's done trying to fix a relationship where she's been neglected emotionally for so long. At the end of the day, the question remains, can a man really change once he's lost the one person who held him up? Or is Maurice just mourning the image of the perfect marriage, not realizing that the woman he took for granted has already moved on from him? The public drama, the emotional displays, and the affair all add to the complexity of this situation. But one thing is clear: Maurice's actions, whether driven by genuine remorse or not, have left a deep scar in his relationship with Kimmi. And fans are left wondering if this is the end of the road for them, or if there's any chance for true healing.